clients and providers, 4,000. Now it sounds like a lot. Of that, they found 1,500 of them to be credible. Of that 1,500, they've been able to get 3 convictions. So that shows that this fraud that they're claiming is running rampant there is really not as big of an issue as the media likes to make it seem. Because if it was, that conviction rate would be a lot closer to the 1,500 than the 3. But you can see that there people are reporting 4,000. That's actually less than half that, and from that you're talking minimal that's actually getting charged with something. So that's kind of the other issue, that this fee schedule as it stands really creates an issue because it doesn't go after the folks that created this problem by charging significantly higher rates. That's why, as we move forward with this, the legislators want to fix this. They want to make sure that those folks who created the problem are no longer going to be able to do that. They also understand that if they don't fix this, this is an issue that over time will cost thousands of jobs in the medical and rehab field, and will reduce access to care in certain parts of the state and completely eliminate access to care in other parts of the state, as these providers, which maybe is the only provider around, cannot sustain the business, and not a single state rep wants that. Now, again, as I stated, I truly believe this fee schedule will look very different, because the efforts that have been put into place has found a Medicare equivalent for every product and service that does not have a Medicare recognized code. It's been a very lengthy process, but the process has been played out. It has been tested. They have not been able to find any sort of way to disprove it, because it is based on what providers were charging now, what the statewide average was for them, and then applying the same rate difference that if a service was provided on the acute care side, like PT and OT, those are things that Medicare will cover. So they took a look at what those rates were and identified what the Medicare plus 200% rate was. Then they looked at what was charged for PT and OT on the post-acute care side, figured out what that difference was, and then created a bridge factor that could be applied to every other service, and it gave that rate. And the nice thing about it was, when those rates were then looked at, they found that only a small percentage would actually have to reduce down what their current rates are, as opposed to the proposed schedule, which would have been a 45% cut. So that's something, again, I really think we're going to see change. That's going to make a big difference, because that will allow the industry to continue on in full strength past July 1st of 2021. Now, I did want to mention, because of the fact we are hosting it here, because of the fact that we have participants who attend here, staff who work here, I want to mention this, because when you start hearing talk about reduced access to care, eventual job loss and everything, it's a very scary thing. But I want you to keep in mind, neuro restorative operates in 26 other states, not just here. From the president of this company on down, they have been 100% vested in this interest since day one, and are really looking at what they can do, and we're already making changes and doing things that we can implement from how they do business in other states to make sure that we are not as impacted as other providers who don't have any other options. So I just wanted to put it out there. Again, we are constantly going through and adapting. Yes, there's going to be changes that are going to happen with it, but it's something that is going to be in a spot where we can sustain and we can continue to go on, because of the fact that we have other experience and you have a true vested interest. And I'm completely serious. When we were in Lansing on this, it didn't matter what time of day or night. I was getting phone calls and text messages from the president of the company, wanting to know what's going on, wanting to know what he can do to help. When you've got that sort of care at the top, it trickles down the whole way through, and they are committed to not only this program, but to Michigan. They're going to do whatever they can do. So I hope that eases everyone's mind a bit. Again, we're probably going to be in a better spot than other providers, but if we get this particular change, it'll make this industry that much stronger, but it'll also do it in a way that helps the cost, so that those who do exploit the system will be the ones affected, not everybody else who's been playing by the rules. All right, so that's, again, kind of the first step is we get this fixed. That's a legislative fix. The next fix that we are going to be looking at is a court ruling. There was an 18-count lawsuit filed in October, Ingham County Circuit Court, and it is challenging the retroactivity of this, because while yes, everybody is maintaining lifetime coverage, the fact of the matter is when somebody's injured, and when they were injured, they were told they would get lifetime benefits based on the way the system was. And now all of a sudden, the fee schedule is going to affect them. Utilization review is going to affect them. Attendant care is going to affect them. And so that's being challenged because based on contract law, that's a violation of the contract when the person was injured. So that's something we're going to watch. Now we were really kind of wondering how quickly they were going to move on this, because if this is ruled on and they find that in fact this does violate the way this was set up, then this means anyone who's currently receiving lifetime benefits, the attendant care cap doesn't apply, the fee schedule doesn't apply, all these other factors do not apply to them. So we wanted to make sure this got moving quick, and at first the courts didn't give us any real good sign, but once they started to learn more about this, opening arguments start May 21st. Now, I will tell you, this is not going to be a quick case, because if we win, they're going to appeal it. If we lose, we're going to appeal it. So you're talking probably a 2 to 3 year case when it's all said and done, but I would much rather be where we stand today on the side of the contract law and the case law that supports this, than on the other side trying to argue that they can retroactively apply these various changes. So that's a huge positive thing. The one question we also get is, well, why are we not doing more to put this on the ballot and allow Michigan voters to decide what they think they want? Here's the reason why we're not doing it in November of 2020. One is, collectively, we would need to fundraise between $8 to $10 million to get the language drafted, to get it approved, to get the signatures approved, and then to advertise and effectively market it. 8 to 10 million minimum. We've also been told that, and this is even before this law passed, that if we tried to challenge this in November, a competing ballot would go on there that would allow Michigan voters to determine, do you want to keep no fault, or do you want to go back to a pure tort state and have no coverage? And there was significant money backing that from not just the Metro Detroit area, but the business community on the west side. So we knew we couldn't really challenge this much, because it would make, if you have two competing ballot initiatives, it just confuses an already confusing issue. Also, election experts have warned many groups that if you want to do a ballot initiative and have some hope of trying to figure out how it's going to turn out for you, November 2020 is not the time to do it. The election is going to be unpredictable on so many levels, and the impact it can have on all other ballot initiatives that are on there is significant. So they're like, just don't do it. But the other overall reality is, PIP choice was into effect July 1st. The election would be November. That's not enough time for Michigan residents to truly understand they're not saving money. Because when we polled Michigan residents back about a year ago, when they heard the words auto no fault, it was very toxic. They thought of fraud, they thought of expensive charges, they thought of auto insurance that cost a lot. So we knew if we put it there, most Michigan residents are going to say, well, we need to see how this is going to play out. We think this is going to fix it. So sadly, it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years for Michigan drivers to understand that my rates aren't going down, I'm paying more, and they also, and I hate to use this phrase because it does involve people's lives, they're going to have to see collateral damage. They're going to have to experience family members, friends, co-workers, and neighbors go through accidents and have a $250,000 coverage, or have opted out and lose everything and have no quality of life. And I really hate to say that, because you're talking 2 to 4 years of people's lives being changed and changed forever. But with the way way that the public views this, it's going to take real stories of both the accidents happening and the lack of coverage, and being able to see what their insurance rates are not doing as far as going here and going down, before they're gonna realize this whole thing's a joke and we need to get this thing fixed. So we're looking at maybe November 2022 or 2024 as an opportunity for a potential ballot. So long-term, that's what the goal is. Short-term, legislative fix on the fee schedule, legislative fix on attendant care, and then follow and support the court case as best that we can to make sure that they overturn that, so that the retroactivity piece is taken completely out. That is why probably for the last hour plus, you didn't see where the hope was at the end of this, but that's why I wanted to kind of put it out there, that there is a lot of positive things happening, and I would much rather be on our side of the issue, where we stand on it right now, than if we were trying to fight against it, because of the fact that we continue to build support every single day. But our success in continued ability to fight this really relies on everyone sitting here today. You took the opportunity to come here and learn about this, to talk about it. Now you have to take it out and talk to your family, your friends, post on Facebook. Make sure this message is out there, help people realize what they need to do to protect themselves and their family in the event of an accident. Make sure they know what to do to protect themselves, so in case they are at fault, they don't get sued and lose everything that they have. That's how we're going to be able to sustain this long term. A couple websites I wanted to mention that you can share. miautoinsurancepromise.com is a great site. MI Auto Insurance Promise on Instagram and Facebook. Those are good things to follow, like, and share. We also have a couple of town hall meetings coming up that if you want to invite other people to, we certainly want to have everyone there. We've got one coming up Monday, March 16th in Washington Township, so far northern part of the county. We've got one March 19th at the Owen Jack Center at 9 Mile between Hoover and Van Dyke. That's from 6 to 8, and then we've got one in Royal Oak on March 30th, the Royal Oak Public Library between 6 and 8 as well.
What about Detroit?
We had one last week at Bethany Christian Church, 94 in Cadieux, and then we've got one we're trying to schedule on the west side. That one is tentative. We're trying to get that one set up. So if you go to that MI Auto Insurance Promise site, all of those are going to be listed there. So kind of keep looking at that, because we've got one in Muskegon tonight. We got one in Grand Rapids tomorrow. We're literally going all over the place with this. So if you do know of any places that would be a good opportunity to host one of these, let me know. We'll get this thing scheduled. Also, if you're part of a civic group, a church group, community group that likes to have people come in and talk about, current events and that, let us know. We have speakers all over the place. I've probably done close to 40 or 50 of them in the past about 4 months. We've got people all the way throughout the state that if I can't get there or they can't get there, we've got other people who can. If the opportunity is there, we will go ahead and do it. We've got presentations that can be done in 30 minutes, and we've got ones like I'm doing tonight that can go close to 2 hours. It's just whatever the group wants. I do have handouts over here that I will give to everyone. Feel free to take them, make as many copies as you need. If you need more, just call us here and we can go ahead and get them to you. That wraps up my portion of it, but I did want to open up to any sort of questions. I know a lot of things had come up, a lot of questions throughout this, but if you think of anything or anything that you wanted to talk about, I'd be happy to answer the questions and point you in a direction if we don't have the answer yet. Yes?
So what can people do?
I would say the number one thing is to educate as many people as you possibly can. That's, again, as I mentioned, family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, and so on. And it's also still important to reach out to your elected officials in the House and Senate. Because while, yes, they hear from providers and they hear from other groups that are here to try and fight for the system, personal stories make a big difference, and personal stories were not permitted when this entire process played out. They did not, it wasn't even that personal stories weren't allowed, they didn't even hold a public hearing on Senate Bill 1 or House Bill 43997. the opportunities were never there. So that's why it's important. And whether you call them, whether you go to Lansing, or a lot of them hold weekly meetings within their own district, at coffee shops, restaurants, go there. Those are great opportunities to really talk about it. And then you start to get other constituents there thinking about it, because there'll be other people there to talk about other issues. You start talking about that, and now all of a sudden, you've got 12 other people that are there thinking about it and working on the issue with you.
Did they ever come up with ballpark figure of what it probably would save a person?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did they ever come up with a ballpark figure of what they think this change in the insurance rate would save it?
No, they really didn't, simply because of the fact that, again, they just signed percentages to it, and then they said, well, that's what we'll go ahead and do, but they made it seem like it's a savings across the board. But then what they're not telling people is that it's on your PIP portion only. Your PIP portion has been climbing up and up and up for the past couple of years, and even then it's based on a statewide average. So that's the other thing that they're not really being truthful about this, is that yes, you could potentially save that, but other factors are going to go into play. So if you maintain lifetime and it says you could save 10%, that 10% might be 1%, or it might be nothing. It may be actually more, depending on how it ends up playing out. It's very misleading how they're really passing this off. But everyone for the longest time associated choice with savings. Because while you don't have to be insured for as much, so the cost is going to be there, but what they didn't look at is all the other costs that are going up because of that.
What was the site again? You said Michigan High Auto?
Yeah, miautoinsurancepromise.com.
Yeah. I wonder, why didn't Congress send it, go on Granholm, Granholm did. She went inside the door about 4:30 in the morning when no one was up.
Promise.com.
You ready to, can they take it back?
No, because once it passes through the House and Senate, then all the government has to do is sign it. And the House and Senate are just as guilty for passing stuff in the middle of the night, so, yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's just the overall political process. All right, any other questions? Really quick, is anyone here a transportation provider? I gotta talk to you guys really quick, this is another issue that you guys gotta face. Is there any other questions? All right, thank you, everyone, I really appreciate it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I know I'm getting calls from non-residential transportation companies on a daily basis that are experiencing massive rate increases on their overall like 35-40% of last year.
And it was 35% prior to the prior.
Yeah, and that's assuming if these companies are even re-upping policies, because there's been some that have just been dropped.
So this is true. This is
I've
like
spoken with a few agents who write commercial auto, they told me that, the reality is, there's only about 6 companies that write commercial auto in Michigan, so they created this monopoly because they know, if you want to get business, you have to work
but
with
what I'm saying
them. And also, they already have moved all those transportation riders into a high-risk
you're
business,
riding dirt,
because they're claiming that the
it'd
fee
be
schedule that
criminalized
goes into effect for the following year
stops
is gonna make it so that
the
those
but
companies are not a, sustainable
but that's
business.
it.
So just to let you know, the Brain Injury Provider Council, in addition to what you hear, I've been president of the group for the past 3 years. We have filed a formal complaint with DIFS on behalf of the non-risk medical transportation community, and are demanding that they do something to bring down commercial auto rates. Because our thing is, the insurance commissioner is being tasked with regulating rates for all Michigan drivers starting July 1st of this year. She can even regulate rates for 6 commercial auto insurance companies. And she has to intervene, because obviously, as rates continue to go up and up, there's providers out there that have had to reduce their fleet by 50% just to afford auto insurance. Well, if the fleet's not there to transport people, now you're restricting access to physical therapy, occupational therapy folks, and so on. So I just wanted to let you guys know, if you have a card on you, if not, I can jot down your information and keep it looped in as far as what's going on, but we are working on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, you can email me.
And
I'll
then
tell you what, tomorrow I will
Okay.
contact you with.
Perfect.
Get a couple
person,
cards.
Perfect.
And, my name is Nash.
Okay.
Chris, he's my, chairman.
Okay, great.
And, you know what, you're very motivated.
I,
other than that.
I've been fortunate enough and heavily involved in this for 10, 11 years now. And, it's an initiative and important, not only because of what I do, but I mean, it's gonna happen anyone, you know? I mean, I actually was in an accident August 3rd, 6 o'clock in the morning, driving 11 mile between Groesbeck and Gratiot, right one of those overpasses are. Person blew through, there was a red light about 35 miles an hour, hit the driver's side of my truck, pushed me off the road and hit a tree. Fortunately, I was available for about 5 hours and everything was good. But had it just been a foot back and I was hit directly in the side, it could have been different. That's why this issue is so important, because it could happen to any one of us at any point in time.
And that's the thing about it is,
Oh, yeah.
We got people out there just working some,
Perfect, yeah.
working some.
you know, the thing is, the unfortunate thing is, people don't know it until they're in the field.
That's right.
I'll tell you right now, you know, I've been in business for 7, 8 years, but prior to that,
We don't know how to do on a person's record.
media is telling you.
Whoever
oh,
is
no, this,
insuring
no,
the
that,
car,
you could save this, and,
their
you know,
record.
and the way they're pushing it,
Right.
and, you know, they're saying
They
that,
gotta
and they're
defend
like
it.
popping
Yeah,
champagne.
oh, yeah.
You know,
Well, don't they always get us? Ain't they always got us?
All this stuff you said, which is 100% true, is exactly what they put on the.
500 years.
They got it.
500 years.
I saw how they were attending here.